Xinxin won't let her brother down. Xinxin won't become a burden either, she can protect herself, Yang Xinxin whispered. She kept her head down, and beneath her long bangs, her dark eyes flickered with an uncertain light. There was an air of danger in the air, almost bordering on madness. Zhang Yi didn't notice this. After all, he couldn't see Yang Xinxin's expression over the phone. I've never considered you a burden. Xinxin is the best. You've always been a good helper to your brother. Yang Xinxin nodded. Well, thank you, brother. The two ended the call. Zhang Yi put the phone aside, put his hands behind his head, and began to think about what to do next. However, this will largely depend on the attitude of the senior management of the Jiangnan region. On the other side of the line, Yang Xinxin's small, pale hands gripped the satellite phone tightly. After standing in the same place for a long time, she finally made a decision in her heart. So, she put on her fuzzy slippers and walked step by step towards Zhou Keir's infirmary. When she arrived at the infirmary, Zhou Keir was also inside diligently experimenting with medicine. Zhou Keir used it to conduct experiments, to test the upper limit of her abilities as a doctor, and to try to develop more abilities. Therefore, only through continuous development and research can you maximize the potential of your supernatural abilities. Zhou Keir firmly believed in this. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Zhou Keir put down what she was doing and looked towards the door. Come in. Yang Xinxin pushed open the door and walked in. She had a smile on her face, and her flushed complexion was somewhat sickly. Sister, let's start that experiment. Yang Xinxin found Zhou Keir and made a request. This request made Zhou Keir's face change. Have you thought it over? Xinxin, that experiment is very dangerous. And it will be incredibly painful. Perhaps for humans, there is hardly a more painful experience than this. Yang Xinxin came over with a smile, her hands behind her back, looking up at Zhou Keir playfully. Sister, Xinxin also hopes to have more powerful strength to help you. So, let's get started. Zhou Keir saw the determined expression in Yang Xinxin's smile and understood her determination. She let out a soft sigh. All right then. Zhou Keir didn't say much, and led Yang Xinxin to an operating table. Yang Xinxin took off her shoes, revealing her feet wrapped in white cotton socks, then climbed onto the operating table and smiled as she lay down. Zhou Keir looked expressionless as she used restraints to buckle her hands and feet, and then used a restraint belt to bind her body to prevent her from struggling during the experiment. The entire time, Yang Xinxin's face was covered in a smile, a kind of enlightenment. Zhou Keir felt a little bad about this, and took a deep breath, reminding her for the last time, it's not too late to regret this. I'm really afraid that you won't be able to bear the pain. Yang Xinxin slowly closed her eyes. Let's do it, big sister. Zhou Keir didn't say anything more. She knew in her heart that Yang Xinxin had made the right choice. Although this method may not be effective, based on their long hours of research, the answer they have theoretically obtained is that this experiment is worth a try. Zhou Keir pushed over a transparent shelf, which was an acrylic box that could just about wrap Yang Xinxin's head. After the device was installed, Zhou Keir connected a heart rate monitor to Yang Xinxin's body. As she watched Yang Xinxin, who was waiting for the experiment to begin with her eyes closed, she reached out and opened the valve that connected to the acrylic water tank. Wow! Water began to rush into the tank, quickly submerging Yang Xinxin's head. Yang Xinxin's face showed signs of pain, and she struggled hard, as her instincts dictated. After more than a minute, her struggles weakened, and her heart rate rapidly decreased. Zhou Keir's eyes were fixed on the heart monitor. Ding! The heart monitor completely turned into a straight line. However, Zhou Keir did not hurry to open the water valve. Instead, she stared at Yang Xinxin and her watch, waiting. 2 minutes passed, and Yang Xinxin's body did not show any changes. Zhou Keir quickly opened the water valve, and then her hands turned transparent, and she directly inserted them into Yang Xinxin's chest. One hand held her heart, the other her lungs, and she began to use her doctor abilities to help her perform CPR. Not long after, Yang Xinxin's heartbeat returned, and she suddenly struggled to get up from the operating table, spitting out a pool of water. After waking up, the first thing she did was feel her body. However, this time, she didn't feel any changes. The experiment, has it failed? Yang Xinxin's expression was a little lost. Zhou Qi calmly reminded her, I have studied your cells and they have indeed been affected by the gamma rays, resulting in some mutations. However, this phenomenon is common in most living organisms after the end of the world, which does not mean that you will definitely be able to develop supernatural powers. So you need to be mentally prepared. A near-death experience is the best stimulus for the human body. If you cannot awaken supernatural powers in this state, there are not many other means you can use. Zhou Qi looked at Yang Xinxin with concern. She had chosen such a painful method in order to awaken her supernatural powers. Originally, you could have had an ice soul. Zhou Qi understood Yang Xinxin's position in Zhang Yi's heart. A computer genius with a super powerful brain, she should have been Zhang Yi's first choice for granting an ice soul. Yang Xinxin looked expressionlessly at the shadowless lamp above her head. I always thought that the way Ice Soul activates was flawed. Sister, have you forgotten the conclusion we reached from our analysis? What really determines the strength of supernatural powers are the thoughts. When a person is on the verge of death, the obsession in their heart will turn into their ability after they awaken. The stronger the obsession of death, the more powerful the supernatural power will be. The abilities that the three of you have obtained are all auxiliary in nature, which confirms what I have in mind. And for me, if I want to obtain even more powerful strength, I must use this method to bring my own thoughts to the extreme. This was the reason why Yang Xinxin had initially refused to use Ice Soul. She had her own ideas. She wanted to become a unique presence in Zhang Yi's life. Zhou Qi took a deep breath and comforted her, saying, even if you don't have supernatural powers, you can still help Zhang Yi very well. Yang Xinxin shook her head. That's different. No one would ever resent being too capable. And she understood that in Zhang Yi's eyes, she would always be the weak, vulnerable girl who needed protecting. Zhang Yi didn't know that she also hoped to face all kinds of dangers together with Zhang Yi and fight side by side. Zhou Qi reached out to undo the restraints on Yang Xinxin. But Yang Xinxin said coldly, go ahead. Zhou Qi's hand suddenly froze in midair. You! She was shocked and couldn't even speak. The feeling of being on the verge of death is something that no one wants to experience. And Yang Xinxin actually planned to do it again? Yang Xinxin looked at the stunned Zhou Qi and said with a smile, aren't you here? I'm not really going to die. But next time, I suggest you wait a little longer. Let me feel the despair of death properly, and it might be more effective. Zhou Qi looked at her cousin in front of her, and her body actually began to tremble slightly from fear. This cousin is terrifying. But she couldn't refuse Yang Xinxin's request, so she had to harden her heart and start the second round of the experiment. She thought to herself. As long as she was there, Yang Xinxin would not die. But the taste of being on the brink of death and trying frantically countless times, just thinking about it would make your scalp tingle.